President Biden was making an urgent case for voting rights this evening, calling for an exception to Senate filibuster rules. As a reminder, the filibuster allows for legislation delays, typically from the minority party, in order to block anything that can't get up to 60 votes. And there was criticism about his speech today that grew after several voting rights groups decided to skip it. We're speaking with an individual from one of those organizations now. LaTosha Brown is the co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund, and she joins us now. LaTosha, thank you for joining us on Quick Take. I know I just mentioned you're part of one of the organizations that chose not to attend the speech. After hearing it, do you stand by that decision?
No, I think it was the right decision because I think our point was not to be, we decided, the groups in Georgia that decided not to attend the meeting, we didn't decide because we wanted to be antagonistic or combative to the president. Matter of fact, we want him to actually get this done. What we wanted to do is send a message loud and clear that this is a serious moment for us, that we feel like a lot of time has been squandered, that we are now at this moment. He himself in his own speech said that he's been silent long enough, that as a result, we feel like we've lost a lot of momentum and a lot of time. And this is the moment right now that literally we need more than speeches, that what we need is we need true commitment and action. Yeah, I was actually happy to hear several of the things that he said in the speech today, but part of the reason why we didn't attend today is because we said there were a couple of things. One, we wanted to hear, it wasn't just a matter of just hearing what his belief was around voting rights. What we wanted to know a real clear path forward. We wanted to hear an action plan around how can we move forward to make sure that there's a full commitment from the White House to support voting rights legislation in this nation.
What specifics did you hear in his speech that made you feel like there is a clear plan moving forward? Because he did cite a lot of the division, making it hard to get this done.
You know, one of the things that activists and organizers like myself have been talking about for months now, we have met, we've gone to the White House, we've expressed this, going to the White House, we went to the Senate, we've gone to the House, we've met with the Senate leadership, the House leadership, we've sent letters to the president, we've done everything, we've protested, we've been arrested around the filibuster. That for over a year, close to a year, we have been saying that there was no path forward without a consideration to actually be able to amend, carve out, eliminate, or whatever you had to do around the filibuster. What was hopeful, that I think was a part of a plan that I heard from him today, was that he has now publicly expressed, which is distinctively different than what his position has been in recent months, is that he is willing for there to be a carve out or a change of the rules so that we can move forward in spite of the filibuster, that he himself actually called for that. Mm-hmm. And so I think that was hopeful. I think that was probably one of the most significant things that he said in the speech today.
Sure, but he also is dealing with two Democratic senators, of course, Joe Manchin and Kyrsten Sinema, who are not necessarily going to change their views on the filibuster. It's going to be hard to get them on board. If you were the president, what would your strategy be to get these two Democrats on board with changing the filibuster so that voting rights can get pushed through?
You know, I think that this has to be almost a critical issue. I hope that he continues to weigh in on this and literally dig in. I hope that he continues to literally call those senators, continue to put pressure on them to use what he can use within the context of his presidential power. I mean, some of that he alluded to today in his speech. I'm hoping that he does that he actually leverages the full weight of his office of president to put pressure on them so that literally there's a spotlight. You know, it's noticeable that he did not call them out by name. And I think that there's still a space around trying to negotiate with them. You know, I have very, very little faith in particularly Senator Manchin in this point, because I think he's been extremely disingenuous and dishonest the entire time, which many of us feared from the beginning while we were calling for the voting rights legislation to be a priority before even Build Back Better or the infrastructure bill. We felt that he was saying that at the time because he had a vested interest, but not because that he was actually interested in any way. This is Senator Manchin in supporting the voting rights legislation. So I think that there's a number of things. What the president reminded us today, that he has a significant history and in the Senate, and that there's an expectation of someone who spent 4 decades in the Senate, that I'm quite sure that there are ways that I am hoping that he would use every pressure point that is available to him to actually push and to bring those senators and hold them accountable to their party, to hold them accountable to the people in this nation.
Let's talk about the other side here. Let's talk about the Republicans and what these restrictions look like. Obviously, a lot of gerrymandering in Georgia itself. If we look in Texas, Republicans tried to make it easier for election results to be overturned. That was stopped after Democrats had a walkout. I mean, there's absentee ballot limitations, tightening of ID requirements, the list goes on. All of this revved up after the 2020 election results. Why do you think that voting rights has become such a political football for Republicans?
I don't think that it's just a political football. I think it's a strategy. I think that they have an active strategy and a concerted effort to undermine the democratic process. That this is what we're seeing as the best case scenario. We've seen this, how democracies have died all around the world. That this is a best case scenario for a minority to actually want to control the politics of a majority. That the bottom line is they do not have an agenda that has been appealing to the majority of Americans, of people in this country of different nationalities, different socioeconomic backgrounds, that literally can actually for them to hold on to power. So what they've decided instead is that they're going to cheat, that they are willing to blow up whatever element of democracy in this country so that a few people could actually maintain their power and their positioning. I think we have to treat it as such. We can't treat this as this voting rights issue is just another policy issue. This is another bill that the Republicans and Democrats disagree on. No, this is a fundamental issue that changes the nature and the character of this democracy in this nation.
LaTosha, really appreciate you joining us and explaining that. Thank you so much. That was LaTosha Brown, co-founder of Black Voters Matter Fund, joining us to talk about President Biden's speech on changing up the filibuster.